we came up with this hexagon about what you fix and flex on a project. And he came up with the term Flexagon. We don't know if it's going to catch on, but I quite liked it. But what we've got here, and this is some of the most important things to remember over these 3 days, is how you configure and tailor and set up PRINCE2. And one of the things that's fundamental to PRINCE2 is when they changed it in 2009, was to make all of these what are called aspects equal in importance. So time, cost, quality, things like benefit, risk, scope. These were seen now as, these aspects as they're called, were now seen as equals. Whereas prior to 2009, the book was very much written that time and cost were the main ones, and the other 4 were sort of literally called others. Now I remember when I trained PRINCE2, over a decade ago, I remember training about tolerances and training about scope, and in the manual I had there was just one paragraph on scope tolerance, and it said if you're going out for a meal, you might decide not to have a dessert, and that was it. Okay, now trust me, when you're playing with scope and managing scope, which you do in an agile context, there's more to it than skipping your pudding. Okay, now really not hardly any mention of it at all. So what the team did in 2009 was level the playing field, so that time and managing time was as relevant as managing scope for a project manager. And as opposed to, as I say, these 2 and then the 4 others, they put the 6 in a row and they called them aspects. So these aspects, which you can see in the diagram here, time, cost, benefit, risk, quality and scope, they're the things we're going to play with, and we're going to fix some of them and we're going to flex some of them. But when PRINCE2 2009 was done, this was a significant change that really enabled PRINCE2 to be agile. So this is what we do, and here's the way it works. And I'm going to explain why in a moment, because why is important. So it's not me just saying do this. I need to tell you why, and the why is quite important, which I'll come on to after I've just told you the basics. But what we've got with the hexagon is that time and cost we don't flex when we're using Agile, when we're using PRINCE2 Agile. We set deadlines and we hit them. We stabilise resources. We don't throw people at the problem. So we're going to fix what are called sort of time and cost, time and resources. The bottom row is what we're going to play with in an Agile context. So when we set PRINCE2 up to work in an Agile context, the things we're going for are scope, so we might drop some features out. So here, if we've got a backlog that we're using and there's 50 things we're going to deliver, we might drop out 2 or 3. That's called flexing the scope. And quality criteria. Now importantly, that is quality criteria, not quality level. So if we have something like a camera that works at 0 degrees, it must work at 0 degrees, should work at -10, could work at -20. What we've got here is flexibility on the quality criteria. So we might make the camera so that it only satisfies the should have requirement. So it works at -10, it doesn't work at -20, but it still works. But what we're going to do in PRINCE2 Agile is focus on those bottom 2, quality criteria and scope. And that's going to be the thing we manage throughout the project in order to hit the deadline with fixed resources. Now in the middle we've got a column which we call May Flex, whereby you can flex those if you like, like benefit, for example. If we say the project is going to save us €1 million, it must save us 800,000 euro, should save us 900,000 euro, could save us €1 million. We get flexibility in the benefit there. So this enables us to fix a certain part. So for example, if the saving is going to be less than 800,000 euro, then we will go into exception. That isn't going to work. But as long as we can get into that range, it gives us a bit more than a sort of black and white binary situation. And the same with risk. You might decide, appetite for risk, you might decide to move that a little bit. So just to recap, the stuff at the top we're going to fix, do not flex those, okay? Fix, don't flex. The stuff in the middle, we may flex, but the things we're going to concentrate on are the bottom where we're going to flex those. But we can only flex them to the bits that are flexible. There's certain things that have to be there, and there's certain things that should be there and could be there. And as I go through the next 20 minutes, I'll explain why it's this, because you might be sitting there going, well, hey, how about this, how about that? But this is the hexagon, and we're quite proud of the hexagon actually at Axelos and myself, because there are so many triangles in project management, and they normally show 4 things. I've never really understood why you use a triangle to show 4 things, but you know, the TQC, time cost quality triangle, you know, we've moved on. We've now got a hexagon, and we're quite proud of this, and it's quite good running into a few project management trainers. Often they go, I've been training it as a hexagon for the last 5 years, so a couple of you nodded a little bit.